Hi, welcome to another Falcon 4 BMS tutorial. This tutorial is going to cover the AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missile. Before we can go in game and show you the HARM, I need to go over two features that are at the briefing screen. The first of which is the loadout screen. So at the loadout screen, there is a piece of equipment here that you're going to want to equip on your aircraft to get maximum usage of the HARM. And that is this guy right here. That's an HTS, or HARM Targeting System pod. And you can add that to the F-16 by just clicking this green box at the loadout screen. And without the HTS, you cannot use the HARM attack display, which is one of the most versatile and easy to use attack modes for the HARM. Another thing I want to show you guys how to do is designate target steer points. And the reason for this is that often you'll know that there's a SAM site or a SAM battalion in the vicinity of whatever mission you are conducting, and you want to destroy that SAM site with accuracy, and you don't want to have to try to find it on alternative systems. You know its exact position. So in order to destroy that target using the HARM, you want to create a target steer point and then reference it later using the weapon modes of the HARM. So in order to designate a target steer point, you're going to want to recon whatever it is that you want to attack by right-clicking on the map and then select recon. Then you want to find the target in the recon screen. You're going to select, for instance, when we're attacking SAM sites, we're going to want to select the radar for the SAM battalion. In an SA2, it's a, or correction, in an SA3, it's a low blow. So we click on that, then we go to this option here where it says designate as target steer point. We change it to whatever we want. I would recommend selecting a target steer point that is in excess of your regular flight plan, which usually involves at least 10 steer points. So I usually go and I start at 15 and go ahead and designate that. Now when I go in game and I switch to steer point 15, it will be on the exact position of this SA3, and then I can destroy it much easier using the HARM. So those are two major concepts that you guys should know before you start using the HARM. And with that, let's get in game. Okay, so we're now in game. So what I'm going to do is just give you a basic introduction to what the HARM is. The HARM AGM-88 is an anti-radiation missile that is the successor of the Shrike anti-radiation missile that was used in Vietnam. Anti-radiation missiles are usually used to destroy radar systems from surface-to-air missiles and AAA, or anti-aircraft artillery. They detect radar emissions and then can lock onto them with their sensor head and are guided onto and destroy radar sites. You can use HARMs against anything as large as a fully developed SAM radar to anything as small as the radar dish on a Shilka or a Tunguska mobile AAA. So with that being said, once we're in game, we need to power on the HARM. So we're going to switch into master air-to-ground mode by pressing AG on our ICP. Once we're in AG mode, we're going to power on the HARMs, because if you don't do that, they're pretty useless. They're just paperweights. On the right side of the MFD here, where it says power off, just click to the right of that. Now we're powered on. There's nothing else you need to do at the SMS page. What you are going to want to do, though, is you're going to want to replace SMS with the HAD, or HARM attack display. So all we do is we just click under SMS, and then this screen will come up. And then we click at the top left above where it says HAD. Now, there's two ways to use the HARMs. You can use the HAD, which is the HARM attack display, but that's dependent on you having the HTS installed on your aircraft, the HTS pod installed on your aircraft. Now, that's something which you can normally accomplish because, it's not a difficult thing to just check that during the briefing screen or whatever. But just keep that in mind that you can't use the HAD unless you have the HTS installed on your aircraft. Now, the HAD is a fully integrated system that includes the flight plan, situational cues, and information from the harm sensor. It's the easiest system to use, and it's also the most versatile system to use. That being said, it doesn't have the ability to do specific point attacks like the alternative modes that the harm can use. So the HAD is one way to use the harm. The other way to use the harm is to use the weapon, the systems from the weapon itself, and you select those by using the weapon page of your MFD. And the weapon modes are twofold. There is positional mode, or position known, and you use that on point targets and during ambushes. And there is HAS mode, or harm as sensor, and that is basically a bore sight mode for the harm, which allows you to select various radars that the harm is detecting. It's essentially a very primitive mode or primitive version of the HAD, and the only reason you would ever use it is if you don't have an HAD. That being said, let's go over the HAD first, okay? And pay attention to this because as a new guy to Falcon 4 BMS, this is what you're going to be using the most, and it's the easiest to use. So let's go ahead and check out the HAD. Now, the HAD has a bunch of features, okay? This blue outline of an airplane is you. It's your aircraft. And it also shows your attitude and bearing. This white jagged oval surrounding your aircraft, or emanating from your aircraft, is the footprint for the harm. That is the maximum range and gimbal limits of the harm. If there's a contact inside that bubble, then you can engage it. If it's outside of that bubble, then you cannot engage it. Okay. Also on the screen surrounding your aircraft is a compass. The part that has a triangle or a point coming out of it is north, and right now we can see that north is pointing down right, which means I'm headed southwest. Okay. The green lines that are running through the HAD, that is the flight plan. And one downside is that doesn't show steer points, but it generally will show the flight plan. Another feature is these two green lines. That is the targeting reticle, and you move that onto radar contacts in order to select them. Also on the screen, also on this MFD is, see these yellow numbers and letters? Those are active radars. There's 4 different colors, okay? If it's green, then the radar is passive and it's not emitting. If it's yellow, then it's emitting. If it's red, then it's actively pinging something. And if it's flashing red, then it's actively launching, okay? The ideal situation for employment of the harm is on a radar that is either red or flashing red. But of course, there's some situational concerns. You might not be able to always, use one of your wingmen as a wild weasel to attract the harm to turn on or whatever. Or it might be too deadly, or you might not be able to do it due to the terrain. Whatever the circumstances, most of the time you might not be able to get it to flash red or turn red. However, you should never fire on a target that is green, because the radar is either off or it's passive. And in that circumstance, the harm will just fall out of the sky like a paperweight and it won't do anything. The harm is dependent on the radar being active. And the more active it is and the more emissions it's sending out, the more effective the harm is. Now, the top left of this MFD is the range in nautical miles that the HAD is currently scanning. So it's 60 nautical miles. You can press these buttons to increase or decrease the range. The other features of the HAD are unimplemented at this time. So all these buttons on the side unimplemented. So all you got to do now to attack a radar using the HAD is simply to change the center of interest to the HAD, and then slew over, select the radar contact, and then pickle onto them after you're within the indexer. So what is center of interest? Center of interest basically tells the aircraft what MFD or what display you're interested in using and what you're going to want to manipulate with your controls. So by default we can see that this left MFD is center of interest, and we know that because there is a white box outlining the screen. And to change center of interest, you just press DMS down, and when you do so you'll notice that the white outline shifts now to this screen. And with the screen being center of interest, I can now move around the cursor and I can select targets. So the first procedure you're going to be doing in order to attack, we're going to go after this SA-3 that's to my 10 o'clock. It's about 30 miles. So the procedure to attack this thing is we slew over it, and we press TMS down, or TMS up rather, and then you see that white box appears surrounding the radar contact, and that is the target that you actively have selected. Now the cool thing is about BMS is that if you turn on your HMCS, which is your helmet mounted HUD, you can actually visually identify and visually see where the SAM is. So, and it will appear as a green box on your HMCS. So even though that the visibility is a little low right now and I can't see the target, if we were closer, I'd be able to directly see it on this heading, which is approximately 200. So, and this is like an invaluable tool, and it will greatly improve your situational awareness and also your survivability, because it's great to know where a SAM site is. Even if you're just locking on to the radar, where the radar is usually nearby to the launchers, so you'll know where the launchers are going to come from if you're trying to defend against it, and it will really help you with your SAM evasion. So I highly recommend turning on the HMCS when you are using any of the HARM systems. You just go ahead and kill the HMCS so we can actually look at things. Okay, so I now have it locked up, and we'll see that there's some new HUD symbology that appeared after I locked it up. That is, there's now an indexer, and so it's very similar to what we've seen with the AIM-RAM. We have the greater than symbol, also known as the caret. We have a bracket which represents maximum and minimum range, and when this caret descends above the maximum range line, we can fire. It's that simple, and unlike the AIM-RAM, it doesn't become more accurate if you're closer to the target or anything like that. It doesn't matter if you fire at max range or minimum range, it's going to have essentially the same effect. We also have, in the center of our HUD here, we have this green circle. This will flash when the minimum range, or correction, the maximum range has been met. When you're within the maximum range, this will flash, and the target will also flash on the HUD. So let's go ahead and unpause this and fly towards the target. Now we'll note here a new HUD symbology has appeared, and that is, we have our target designation box, and we also have a circle around it indicating where the HAD selection is. And we're almost, we can see from here, we're almost within maximum range. So I'm going to just fly a little bit closer. When that circle starts flashing, we have a maximum range shot. There it goes. We can fire right now if we want to. You'll also note that the radar contact is now inside the footprint for the arm.
In position.
So I'm going to go ahead and
Weasel 1-2, return to base.
I'm going to go ahead and fire upon this target.
2, heading back to home plate.
Magnum. Now, these missiles take a really long time to fly toward their targets, especially at max range. You might have to wait up until 2 minutes for them to make impact. So while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys how to trim your aircraft out. And also note that on your HAD, when the target is destroyed, it will just disappear from the HAD. The numbers that are on the HAD represent active emissions that the harm sensor head is picking up. Or correction, that the HTS is picking up. Now, as you'll note, I am rolling slightly to the right. And the reason for that is pretty obvious if you look at my aircraft from the outside. We can see here that on my left wing, I fired off a harm, and that's causing my aircraft to spin to the right. So this isn't the end of the world. We can definitely fix this. All we need to do is we need to trim out to the left. So in order to do that, you just hold down Alt and you press left arrow key until you stop rolling left. And we can see here I'm relatively stable. If you wanted to use the cockpit controls to trim out, you could use them right here. The manual trim panel does the exact same thing as using your Alt keys. Okay, so this missile should impact momentarily.
In position.
Weasel 1, return to base. 3,
4.
Still on the HAD, which leads me to believe that my missile missed for whatever reason. I might have to fire another one off. If it starts actively scanning me, then I'll fire another one. And you can probably barely see it on this video, but you can actually see the Fansong radar. It's very, very small. We're almost at minimum range. I'm going to go ahead and pick off another one.
Magnum.
Put my jammer on just for safety's sake. That SA-3 just detected me. He's probably going to fire on me. It's okay though, because we got that harm in the air. And we'll see the 3 disappear off the HAD momentarily.
Weasel
Boom.
1-2, request permission to engage.
Radar destroyed.
Weasel 1-3, let me out of
I'm just going to trim myself out here and then
Weasel 1-4, request permission to engage.
and then we'll proceed onward. Okay. So go ahead and kill this freaking HMCS. Okay, so that's how to use the HAD. It's pretty straightforward, very simple. Now, there are some circumstances where the HAD is not going to be as useful as other modes, okay? You can use the harm itself as an attack system, or as a weapon system, if you click WPN on your right MFD. Okay, so when you click on the weapon page on your right MFD, it may by default display the position known mode, which we can see here at the top left where it says POS. This is, if you click on that, you can select the various modes. POS is for, as I said before, it's when you know where the target is, and you have like you have a target steer point, you mark the steer point, whatever it is, and whatever the case is, and you want to destroy a point target, you'd use POS. HAS is like a bore sight mode for the harm that just is essentially just showing you what the threats are around you. It's a more primitive version of the HAD. So let's go ahead and go over POS for now. There's 3 sub-modes or flight profiles to POS or positional. There's EOM, which is a self-defense mode, and there is RUK, which is range unknown. RUK is it's used when you don't have full confidence of where the SAM is that you're firing at, but you have a general idea of where it is, a vicinity. It fires out with a large field of view and basically flies over the target and scans for, in the vicinity of wherever the steer point is. It's useful on mobile SAM systems or SAMs where you know their general vicinity but not the exact position. Then there is pre-briefed, or PB, and that's for SAMs that you know their exact position. You likely found them during the briefing. You plotted down their position as a target steer point. Now you want to reference that steer point and attack that exact target. Now, in all of these modes, you have to select the sort of radar that you're going to be engaging, and that's selected on the left side of the MFD. Now, by default, it goes through SA2 through SA6, but we see here next to the mode button, there's where it says TBL1. That's to select the various radar tables. So if we click that, we can select different SAM systems. This is 8 through 12. Then we have 13 through 17, and then it begins some allied SAM systems. We have the Nike, Chanma, and Hawk, Patriot. The A stands for AAA, and S is for search radar. So the idea is that the procedure here is that you're going to select the sort of SAM that you're going to be engaging. Then you're going to select a steer point where the SAM is. And then the HUD symbology will reflect that position as a target. So it's similar to locking up something on your HAD, except instead of locking it up on the HAD, you're just selecting a position via steer point and then referencing that for your attack profile. Now, let's go over the rest of the MFD symbology. So this green line down the center divides 2 different areas of information. Okay, on the top, that is post-launch information. So after you fire off a harm, you'll see some information there, and you'll get it post-launch. Below it is pre-launch information, and that is information before you fire. It'll tell you time of flight, the target steer point you have selected, and other information, which we're about to show you in a moment. So right now, I know that there is an SA2 at steer point 16 because I designated it during the briefing. And we can see it here on we can see it here on the HSD. I also designated a threat circle. So I know that it's there. I know that it's at steer point 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select steer point 16 using S on my keyboard. You can also use your ICP to do it, but I'm going to use S. And I now have the SA2 selected. At this point, I'm going to go into my weapon page, and I'm going to select 2 on the left side of the MFD. Now it displays the pre-launch information, okay? It says the SAM system, what I'm going to be targeting, and that's 2, okay? Under that is the steer point where the system is, which is 16. Under that is time of flight and, time to impact. And under that is time of impact. So time to impact, time of impact. Okay? So it would take 1 minute and 43 seconds for this to fly through the air, and it'll be there at 1824 if I were to fire right this second. Now, once I fire, that information is going to get sent up to the above the line where the post-launch information is, and a new harm or new targets information will be selected below the line. So the procedure for attacking a pre-briefed or an RUK target, range unknown target, is similar at least to using the HAD. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn right into the target and get on bore sight with it. Okay, we're now on bore sight with the target. Now, there's some new symbology here though, okay? We have a fall line going down the center of our HUD. We also have, let me just unpause this and get it so you can see the entire thing. Okay, we have a fall line going through our HUD. We also have maximum ideal pitch, which is this horizontal line on the fall line. We have minimum pitch, which is this horizontal line. And we have ideal lofting position, which is the space between these two greater than and less than symbols. Okay? So an ideal shot would be between the maximum pitch and minimum pitch and would be inside the lofting position. So all I'm going to do is, I'm already within maximum range. I could fire right now. It wouldn't be ideal, but I could fire right now. But to make this the best shot possible, I'm going to pitch up so that my meatball is inside the lofting cue, and then I'm going to hold down pickle. Right now we are minute 39 to impact, and if I were to fire right now, it would be there at 18:25:20. Magnum. Say 2 scanning me. We can use the HAD to detect if the target has been destroyed. I'm getting a little close here, so he might fire on me. That's fine. I can evade it. Go below the clouds. Visibility is pretty crappy right now. And target destroyed. Lights out on the HAD. So that's how you do a PB attack. That's also how you do an RUK attack, range unknown. The only change between RUK and PB is just it's a different situation that you'd use those two different attack modes. But the actual methodology for attacking is the exact same thing between PB and RUK. Now, EOM is different, okay? In EOM mode, what you do is you're on your RWR, you're getting locked up, a SAM just fired at you, it's for self-defense mostly, and what do? Okay? So first thing you're going to do is you're going to be in EOM mode, then you're going to select the type of SAM that's firing at you, then you're going to point in the general vicinity of the SAM, and then you're just going to pickle. Simple as that. It's not the most effective mode, but it might save your ass sometime. So I know that there is a SA3 at Steer 18. So we're going to fly over to Steer 18 and we're going to try to defend ourselves using EOM mode. So I select Steer 3. SA3. I'm going to unpause the game. Fly over there. It's 53 miles away, so please bear with me while I burn over there. I would engage the SA4 at Steer 17. But the problem with that is that there's two SA4 radars, so we wouldn't actually know if we killed the right one. Oh, but unfortunately, oh yeah, the SA4 threat circle overlaps the SA3. Okay, so we're gonna have to do this with the SA4. So imagine we're just flying around. Minding our own business, and then all of a sudden we get launched on by an SA4. Try to defend ourselves at EOM. At this point, if I wanted to, I could actually attack the SA4 as a pre-brief target. I'm already within maximum range, but we're just going to try EOM for now. Still about 5 miles from the max threat circle. These conditions are horrible. I can turn my jammer off so I'm a nice juicy target for him. Just entered lethal. Could fire on me at any time. Although most SAM systems will not. They'll usually try to ambush you when you're closer. If I were to fire right now, it would take 1:30 for the harm to reach the target. Come on, Mr. SA4. Getting really close here. If he fires at me at this range, it's going to be deadly. There he goes. Oh snap, I'm getting locked on by an SA4. I never thought this would happen. Oh god, what am I doing? I'm scared. Oh god. Oh god. Pickle. Go defensive. The last feature we're going to go over today is the HAS mode on the weapon page of the HARM, and that stands for Harm as Sensor. HARM-S sensor is a bore sight mode that essentially shows you the bore sight sensor of the harm, including incoming emissions, and then you select them and attack them. It's a very primitive interface. I personally would never use it in combat, but I'm going to show you how to use it just for completeness sake. So, very quickly going to turn on my AGMs. On the weapon page where it says POS, just go and click that, switch it to HAS. Now we have the display for the HAS, and pretty much what you're looking at, it's very simple. You have a gun cross going down the center that represents the bore sight of the harm sensor itself. RS is just a reset button. This green box at the top shows you all types of threats that are currently seen, and active emitters are yellow, red, or green targets. In order to engage one of these targets, you just slew over it when the screen is center of interest. Press TMS up, and when it's a good launch or an acceptable launch, it will say ready on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and see this cross. That's just a bore sight, another bore sight view. And it says ready down here. That means you can fire. That's it. There's no indexer. There's nothing fancy. That's all there is to it. When it says ready, you can fire. It means that it's within a somewhat acceptable range. And of course, since this is bore sight operated, you're going to want to use the HAS as sort of your indicator of where you should be headed where you fire. So right now, I'd naturally want to fire on that SA3 that I have selected. I wouldn't want to turn all the way right and get him off a bore sight.
Weasel 1-2. Request permission to engage.
Obviously, that's not a good idea. So now he's on bore sight. He just pickle. And that's it. It's nothing much more to say. So hopefully this tutorial was useful.
Weasel 1-3. Let me out of here.
Please let me know if there was anything that I need to clarify. I know it's a pretty complicated topic. I tried to simplify it so it would be watchable and would not be too overwhelming.
Two in position.
Enjoy, and please let me know in the comments.